Welcome back to the Ikko Ikki campaign Abridged, where previously we were able to get two armies onto Shikoku Island, and through a series of battles we not only beat back the enemy as they counterattacked, but we eventually took one of their castles, so we've got something to work with there. And we've also made some more progress in getting rid of all the bits of territory we've lost to naval invasions, just one more left. That one territory is the one which we have under siege over there. And to finish the cliffhanger I left last time as to what I'm going to do about it, the answer is nothing that was worth waiting for. I just left them under siege and started bringing more reinforcements over, so we will come back to that again. But we've got some action in the end turn sequence. First, the Kono decide to suicide some troops against a castle. Not sure what the plan there was, but it didn't work. Then another army appears from the other direction. It's the Saionji, one of the other factions on the island, and they've got a stack of trash to come show us. We've got both our armies in this defense, but because we're damaged, the balance bar's not quite good enough for me to just wipe them aside. Plus we do have units that might die in an auto-resolve, so did this one manually, but we're not really going to be able to make much use of our reinforcements, unfortunately. So while the balance bar's real good, a lot of our power is just way off over here on the edge of the map. So I'm going to sprint them towards the fight and see if they arrive in time. Meanwhile, we'll set up for the usual defensive stuff. We can use our blunderbuss troops here. They can only fire once the enemy get close, but their little spread shot thing means you sometimes hit multiple enemies at the same time, so they're quite good at shooting the enemy while they're stuck under the walls. The enemy general decided to go and intercept my reinforcements as they were coming in, which you can see I didn't really react to very well. My guys are mostly just walking past out of formation, but basically they got stuck in among a bunch of our spears, so we took out their general. Seems like that other general was tempted to come over as well. Overall though, that's all looking good. And back in the castle, things are looking good too. We've got these Yumi militia just kind of chilling below our blunderbusses, getting shot sometimes. Not really doing much damage, so that's good for us. And of course their melee assault infantry are all going to be Yari militia, so we can just defeat them in melee with our archers, especially where it's Yumi Ronin. And on the other side of the castle, the same thing's happening. Looks like I've got some firebomb throwers that are almost certainly killing more of our own men than they are of the enemy. But it does give a morale shock as well to be hit by firebombs, so that might make the enemy just leave. Meanwhile, their other generals have decided to just throw it in. They are going to go and attack my reinforcement army, which by this point I'd lined up. So we do get some shots off on them with the guns, and we sort of receive them on our spears, not very well, but the job's going to be done. Our army will defeat their two units, and back at the castle, things are starting to look bad. A lot of the enemy didn't even have to climb in before they routed, and we win the battle. Good stuff. We took basically no casualties and no units were lost. That's the most important thing to achieve there. And the enemy lost their whole army, so we can think about actually going west and stealing one of their castles, perhaps. My main priority though was to go east and try to follow up on all the victories we've got against Kono recently. And to my surprise, there is another army over here. They had loads of stuff here, considering they had several stacks sent out to attack us as well. So we end up besieging a full stack in this castle. But on the way there, we also walked past this other castle. And I thought, well, we might as well just go attack that one this turn instead, so at least we can get an easy capture. It's not super easy because there is half a stack, I guess. However, there is a road from this castle to the castle with our other army in it, so now I started thinking, can I move these guys close enough to be in reinforcement range and still move them back? Because I do want to have them stay there this turn to get replenishment and to keep defending if something else comes from the west. If this was a later Total War game, this wouldn't be a gamble because it would tell you whether this was going to use more than half your movement. In this case, it looks like maybe we've just about got it there. We're on the verge of being in reinforcement range of this battle, making that balance bar super easy so we can guarantee a free capture for the main force. We lose something like 30 men in that auto-resolve, nice and easy. And now we can go back to the other castle, and there we have it. We'll have both of our stacks in castles ready to react to whatever the enemy bring at us in their turns. It's also now time to finish off the Kono at this siege by bringing in a load of other stuff, including the troops that did that Satake battle last time. So now I've got a whole bunch of stuff. The balance bar starting to look good. We can get an auto-resolve that will nicely spread the casualties out among all of these four armies and allow us to then replenish back up and have lost nothing. But we do have some units on the verge of death. That's a risk, so it's time to take advantage of a bit of an exploit, I guess, or an oversight in the game. You're not allowed to have a besieging unit leave the siege, but what it can do is move to another army. So we move it into an army that's not doing the siege, like this, and now these 3 damaged units can just walk off on their own, and there you have it. Now they're not going to be killed by the auto-resolve. We'll make the auto-resolve slightly worse, but irrelevant really once replenishment is taken into account. We lose no units, so the plan worked out, and at last this castle is taken, and because we've lost no units, we can now use these units for other things. The main army can go and start helping out with our attack on Shikoku using some of the nearby easy crossing points. And everything else, well, it's going to be a mix of public order management, and I need some units to go east to improve our defences on the front lines. We'll take another look at that later. I also noticed we've got the chance to move our army that's guarding Kyushu over to Shikoku. I'd left that army there in case someone else dropped troops there, but based on what we've seen so far, if the Kono aren't going to invade, then no one else really is. The other factions don't seem interested in naval invading, even though they probably have armies and we know they have fleets, they're just not doing anything. So I decided to do this and bring these troops over to support this attack as well, to make it as easy as possible. Annoyingly, that port near my castle actually belongs to the enemy's castle, so we can't land our ships there. At first I thought, wait a sec, I bet that army will move out and attack the force I just landed right away. But that was not the case. They did move out, but they attacked the castle with our main force inside it instead. So that's perfect, I guess. This is a chance for us to defeat them out of their castle, in a situation where we should have a big advantage, although unfortunately, while it's a nice good old castle defense, we don't have garrison units, so we can't be as sacrificial as usual. Might need to be a bit more conservative to actually stay alive, ready for our counterattack afterwards. One thing that will help us out is the fact that this is our army with all the guns in it, so all of the samurai charging at the walls are going to be cut down en masse, or at least they are in principle. Sometimes they were, sometimes the guns just can't be bothered. You know how it is with the AI. Our guys are just happy to tank arrows in this case. But in other cases, they are shooting at the enemy, and we do rout a whole unit of katana samurai before they get to the walls here. There are still plenty more coming over, so we're not going to try and hold them in melee. We're going to fall back behind this nearby Yari wall and get the guns in the middle part of the castle to start shooting as well. In the north, it's a more generic sort of fight, just going to let the enemy climb up the nice big walls and take a bunch of casualties. We've got some guns and we've got some warrior monks here that will be cutting the enemy down in droves just while they set up for this, let alone once they actually start to climb and get up there. So those Ashigaru are just going to be mown down super easy. And now the Yari wall plan starts to work. It was made even better here by the fact the enemy decided to lead the assault with their gunners in melee. That didn't last very long. Now we get to the real deal that I was expecting, for the samurai to come and fight with our Yari wall, and we'll have tons of guns shooting into their flank, and the morale shock alone seems to make that fight go very well. Plus our Yari wall is Yari Ronin, so better than the average Yari wall. They can hold on for a long time even without the guns firing. Doing something similar but worse over here with this other little choke point. And basically the enemy's melee infantry got cut down and did very badly with their assault. They also had a ton of ranged stuff outside. They just got killed by our ranged stuff basically. It was a duel. We have the heights and the walls, so we did take them out. And the battle is soon pretty much won, but their general wanted to come in and see what was going on. He chose a good place to climb. He climbed up before I had some bow Ashigaru, and he can actually cut a couple of them down, but not enough. Eventually someone manages to do something to him, he falls over, and the battle is won. This is the last Kono army. Not sure how many we fought over the last couple of episodes, it was quite a few. They proved to be for some reason one of our most difficult opponents, but we've finally done it. They are down. I guess technically they have another army after this, because they actually recruit a bunch of units into the castle in the same turn, so that other castle now isn't totally empty like I thought it was going to be. However, that doesn't really matter, because I just landed that new army. They can just shuffle over to be in reinforcement range, and now when I attack we get this battle right here. Easy auto-resolve, and the Kono have now actually been defeated. Good stuff. We're going to want to immediately move the army back to where they were before, since this is our new front line, a nice choke point, and it's time to start looking further afield. What else can we do here on Shikoku? We don't really have any intel. In fact, we don't have any intel specifically on anything out there, so this ninja is going to help us with that. First we see there's a couple of stacks from the Aki at the next castle over, so going on the offensive might be a bad idea because of that. In fact, there are 3 if you count those other guys hanging about nearby. So that area is pretty heavily fortified. We'll need to send a lot of troops down there to sort that out, and we'll try and find out what's going on to the east as well. I delayed the arrival of my further reinforcements with the Long-Yari Eshigaru army, because some guys came from Kyushu, including good units from earlier in the game that I was using as public order managers. So I can put these guys into this army to make it a bit less terrible and have it be more on par with the rest. Now I was interested to find out whether the Saionji over here were in a vulnerable position after losing that stack of trash. And actually it was much better than I expected. I thought there'd be something here, like another stack of trash. But no, they had no garrison at the nearby castle, so we swoop in and take that right away. We also spy the next castle along. It's only got a half stack in it. So this is kind of surprising. These guys only had 1 fewer castle than the Kono had, yet they don't have like the 10 armies that the Kono did have, so this is going quite well. And they're also absolutely mad. They send this half stack of trash to attack this castle immediately. They've got some balance bar presence due to the game being mean to me, so I had to do this manually. But essentially this is going to be super easy. Our only goal is to not lose troops, so we can go right on and counterattack afterwards. It would be nice and quick, but I'm playing in slow motion to harm myself, I suppose. Eventually, it looks like I sped things up, and we just defeated the enemy as they came over the wall. Their combination of low numbers and low quality was not a winning formula. Now, as they leave, we want to slaughter them as much as possible to make sure that they're dead after this. And soon, they are dead after this. There's the result. All the losses we took will probably be replenished in 1 turn, so that's all fine. Now once we get to our turn, we simply advance and hit that castle. Adding the garrison, they've got something here, so I thought, well, I'll leave them under siege for now, since I do have some Ashigaru reinforcements available somewhere a couple of castles back I could bring over. Also this turn, wanted to check out what's going on to the east, and our ninja takes a look at the Miyoshi clan, spotting 1 army over there near that castle. Annoyingly, we can't see the castle, so we don't know if there's anything inside it right now. But I thought I might go in that direction first, because the Aki to the south seem content to just stand there, or at least they have been so far. So let's send our main force east, and then we'll have this second army, for now, move up to the castle so we still have our front line covered. We need really to send the second army along with the first army to make the attack on Miyoshi nice and easy and safe, especially if they have more than 1 army out there. But we'll look at that again in a sec. In the end turn, the Saionji, with their Mad Lad mode engaged, decide to sally against my besieging force with some trash, and that's not going to go very well this time. I did not want to give up some of my precious free time to actually fight this, even though the balance bar wasn't quite as good as I wanted it to be. But the auto-resolve is fine actually, so in we go. Actually not in we go, a few men survived, so we're going to have to auto-resolve them again to finish the castle. But they're pretty much dead. I was more interested in a new discovery I'd made over here. The Tokugawa have arrived on our border. That Buddhist rebels place that has, in my theory, been stopping the enemy attack me at the eastern end of our territory has finally gone. Also spotted here, that really powerful army that owned me up before is still sitting there where we last saw it, so I guess the Shogunate's giving up on doing anything. If they came over, we'd be in trouble. But with the Tokugawa now bordering us, they might actually invade. But we've got here the collection of all of these spare units I was using up at the west end of Honshu to take out the naval invasions. All together, we've got a full stack, not a particularly good one, but decent enough, so we can totally lock down Himeji and have our land empire be choke pointed off from that direction. So hopefully that will work out. And on the topic of trash, we've got some more trash here, and it's time for a trash special delivery to the ports of Shikoku, since we're going to face the same issue we had on Kyushu, where after a few turns have passed, we're going to start building up the religious differences public order penalty, and that's going to stop us using our frontline armies to their full capacity unless we can get some trash going. We need some of these places to be quite heavily garrisoned for a while, so we're going to recruit as much trash locally as we can using our newly expanded unit cap since we've captured some places, and we've got some import trash as we just saw to help out in the meantime. As for the Miyoshi, I was thinking of advancing on that castle, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to. I felt like there's probably more there than we know about. So it was time to get the second army to come and help, and what I thought I'd do is a conservative strategy. I'm going to leave half of the second army behind in case the Aki do something, with the other half of the castle stack being filled by garrison. That means we now have a full stack defending, and we can go with 1.5 stacks on the offensive. Can even do the old bait and ambush strategy because of that right there. As for the Seonji, they go right down to an auto-resolve against like 2 guys. And now their clan's actually been defeated, but I didn't notice because I figured the next castle in the corner down there would also be theirs. I was thinking, if this went so well, there's probably nothing there, let's go and take it. But no, it actually belongs to another faction, the Aki, the same guys I'm defending against in the middle of the island. Luckily, there's no non-garrison units here, but the garrison's big enough that I didn't feel like going in right away to auto-resolve. So I brought in some of those Ashigara reinforcements I mentioned, and then the balance bar was okay. So we do take it, and there we have it. It's nice to advance up this little set of choke points here because we're always in a nice safe position, although now we've got so many castles behind us that public order means we can't go much further without getting some more trash involved. Our new frontline army is ready to go and is set up at this port with a ship ready to make the crossing, and we can just about do it here. There's a route in between some enemy fleets hanging about to a beach, so I'm going to make these short crossing and dump the troops off. Or am I? Because as we move, the worst possible thing happens. There is actually another fleet there that for some reason we couldn't see. Not sure how the other 2 fleets are in our line of sight, but this guy isn't. Maybe because he's 2 inches further away from the coast, he doesn't count as being in line of sight. So, bad news. This army is now just in the enemy zone of control. It can't move as a result, and the enemy can just take out the one ship that's somehow hosting all of them, and the entire army will be deleted. We're completely at the mercy of the game, which sucks because there's a load of good units in that army and I really didn't want to lose it. Let's see what happens then. The Hojo, one of the early factions in the turn order, come over with some ships from somewhere to attack. That's a hopeless situation. I retreat, and we get some mercy. The AI decides to retreat our guys into a port, and you can't attack ships in port. So actually, we are saved. We did get away with that, which was an enormous relief. Now my bait and ambush strategy has worked. Turns out there were actually 2 stacks in that castle ahead of us. They both come out, including their faction leader, and we get the ambush. We'll want to just auto-resolve that, because in a manual resolve we'd be much weaker than it looks because the second stack wouldn't help. And down they go. We kill most of the first army, and the second army just walks off after that. So we'll have the chance to continue advancing there. But we also see some action from the Aki. They actually do come through the middle of the island and attack the castle where I left a half stack in defense, so it's good that I bothered to do that. Looks like we've got a pretty standard castle defense then. We've got a garrison to sacrifice and some decent units to use in our defense, and the enemy army's pretty good actually, but nothing too special. To start with, I was absolutely spamming fire arrows as much as I could, trying to make it so that pretty much every volley of our first couple of volleys would be fire arrows, because this charge of Naginata Samurai is going to be super weak against fire arrows and super strong against normal arrows, so this is a chance to take them out, much easier than taking them out in melee for sure. Don't actually know how it works, but it seems like fire arrows have a similar armor piercing capability to guns. Not really sure why it works like that or how it works specifically, because the game doesn't tell you. I don't even think it tells you that fire arrows are armor piercing, they just seem to be from my experience, since these Naginata Samurai are being cut down and they are supposed to be a unit that's good against ranged attacks. Anyway, they end up climbing on in, and we're going for the usual strategy on this map here, the one we've already seen in this part. In fact, you see it so often. Just going to fall back behind a Yari wall and get some gunners on the inner wall to do the work. Got some archers over there as well. Looks like I had some firebomb throwers trying to stop the enemy getting in here, but that didn't work. We're going to run away. More firebombers over here making the big throw down at those units in the valley. They're not really doing anything for some reason, they're just kind of chilling, so that's fine. I guess we'll throw grenades at them, and that's going to gradually kill them, although it doesn't actually kill very many, those firebomb attacks. There's a more serious attack going on over at this corner, where the enemy have some samurai climbing in against my archers. That will be good if they get into melee, but They're probably not going to, given the losses they've taken so far, and we do have some warrior monks who can shoot sideways into that situation to take the enemy out, so basically that ended up being fine. Here we are a bit later, when the enemy are making a climb up one of the walls underneath the firebomb throwers, and I wasn't paying enough attention because firebomb throwers will throw the firebombs at themselves when the enemy are real close, and that will destroy the wall they're standing on, thus blowing up one of my units of firebomb throwers and a bunch of archers as well. It kills all of the enemies, so it kind of ends that fight, but we took a lot more losses than I think we would have if we just tried to fight them in melee. Anyway, that aside, everything's going well. We've got the enemy choke pointed off at the usual points and they're just getting taken out. But in this battle I had 3 units of militia reinforcements, and I sent them to attack the enemy's cav waiting around on the west side of the map. I thought I'd assassinate their general cheekily here, but this actually went much worse than I expected. The enemy's cav were able to beat my militia in the melees as it turns out, mainly because we don't have to take that many casualties before we rout, and then as we rout we take a bunch more casualties. Nasty stuff. Once I was down to just one of the 3 units, I decided to have them run towards the edge of the map to just draw things away and to try and keep them alive if I could. Meanwhile, with the melee troops cleared out at the castle, I got all of these sacrificeable garrison units and just charged them out to try and finish things off faster by fighting the enemy's archers. Those archers actually did kill quite a few of my gunners, which are a normal unit. That was the most sad thing to see gone, the firebomb throwers blowing themselves up. Well, not too sad about that, to be honest. My militia ended up fighting the enemy cav again at the edge of the map, but this time, because of the army losses morale penalty, we actually did win the melee, which brought the fight to an end. We lost 1,000 guys in that defense, quite a few actually, but many of those guys will be necromanceable, and a bunch more were the militia outside the castle, which at the end of the day nobody really cares about. We just have to have one guy in the unit so we can get the public order bonus from having them around. That's all we really need them for. Anyway, we'll end this part here. Looks like we're holding on, and our offensive options against the Miyoshi have opened up with that ambush win earlier. Plus, with our other army making good moves around the west side of the island, I think the Shikoku campaign's probably going to be a bit shorter than the Kyushu one, although we'll see next time they do have some difficult stuff to throw at us.